Hey everybody, this is Perch. I'm going to answer two questions in one thing, and you'll understand why I'm doing both. But I kind of would like to just do a video completely on the first question. But it's here we go. This is definitely a comic book store question. Okay, I mean, if you think about the conversations you have in a comic shop, this would fit right in with one of them. So let's get right to it. It says, "Hey Perch, I've just read John Byrne's Fantastic Four run for the first time ever. It's great, though I think I might slightly prefer Simonson's run. That's fair. I look at this. Look at it this way. That's two killer runs. I mean, what an epic time in the Fantastic Four. And I know it is heresy to say anything but the Stanley Kirby era is the best, but I don't know. A Byrne followed by Simonson, that run of comics is pretty goddamn good. I close to perfect as you can get, and I have mad respect for Lee and Kirby, but this is some amazing stuff. Anyway, we continue. It says, and it seems to come down pretty conclusively, meaning this run, on the side of Doom being good for Latvernia. And without him, life is less safe and happy for average Latvernian. Do you think this is actually true? Yeah, I do. I think, well, I mean, that was what they were saying in the comic for sure. Doom provides a nice stabilizing influence on this little, Eastern European country that allows people to be happy and fulfilled. Now, the kind of the inference is those people have, zero freedom and are, largely brainwashed, and they've given away their, it's a totalitarian regime. And so it's like, although that, at times they've also shown parts of Litvernia where, the people are, pretty free to do what they want to do, as long as they praise Doom. They can do whatever they want. Who knows? I'm very confident that we are going to get a Doom in the MCU at some point, and the MCU version of Doom will be a complete, almost analog for Trump. I'll guarantee it. Just watch it. They're going to have this guy come out who is Doom, and they're going to do a lot of Trumpisms in that, and he's going to be this fascist totalitarian dictator, and they're going to try and link it to this would be America if the Republicans win. I guarantee. Just watch. We'll see, but that's my prediction. Anyway, yeah, I mean that absolutely. I think that is what the comic states. I don't think I'd enjoy living at Liburnia. I often wonder, on hot sunny days, he's got to have some internal air conditioning, or that suit's going to stink. But anyway, um, it is fair. Um, anyway, there we go. So now let me get to the second mail, which in a weird kind of way, somewhat, back end refers to the first mail, although it's very different. The mail is basically, it's a bit of a challenge. So here we have it. It says, "Hey Perch, I just listened to your video titled Just Disappointed." Um, and that video, if you didn't listen to it, was me saying, I, uh, I love this industry. I love comics. And so often what I feel when various shenanigans or things go on, or more importantly, when really obvious ways to, you know, grow the industry present themselves, companies do the opposite. It's the unforced error effect. And to me, I don't get. I've moved beyond. I don't know if beyond's the right word, but I don't. The emotion I feel no longer is rage or, go on kind of angry rants. It's more just disappointment. It's like that. It's that very dad disappointment kind of thing. But anyway, let's get to the mail. It says, "I totally agree with your sentiment that it would be great to see the art form grow and expand, but I really wonder when looking at the content of your videos if the content you produce matches your intentions." It's an interesting challenge. "You become a bit of a voice in the YouTube comics community." I would stress the word bit there. "Something well earned from your even-handed, intelligent take on most things you discuss." Most? No, I'm just kidding. "But as a longtime listener, I have to wonder if you don't have a few blind spots related to nostalgia and an LCS owner perspective that are now actively working against your stated intentions of wanting to see the art form grow." That's fair. I think everybody gets blind spots over time. I would say in regard to the LCS part, the pushback I would give you there is that I think that, I'll just state it. If the LCS becomes the reason why comics don't grow, the reason in the LCS model should die, it would break my heart a bit, but it should. No one business model, but I mean, this is why I advocate for, comics being sold in different ways, why digital needs to get a plan and a strategy together, all these things. I don't think the LCS needs to die. I never think things are that extreme, but the LCS does need to learn to live alongside other business models if comics are going to grow. Absolutely, it does. And I've talked a lot about that and taken a decent amount of heat from It's funny. There's two very polarized reactions because I'm in several Facebook groups with LCS people, and now at this point, I'd say the vast majority of them know who I am, and so they poke at me, and about half of them hate it, absolutely hate what I say when I talk about digital strategy and everything else. And like, this got to kill the LCS every time. And about half of them are like, no, you convinced us. This is how we grow as well. And my goal is to get that number more to 80%. You can't ever get that last 20% that includes Brian Hibbs. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, Brian. All joking aside. My goal is to push that needle further. But anyway. But by the way, one thing that I'll say before we get too much into this mail, and I've worn this on my sleeve. I've mentioned it several times. I know that this channel is my attempt to connect with a hobby and a art form and all stuff that I love. That's what I do. And I've mentioned this before. If I had 0 subscribers or 150,000 subscribers, it would be the same to me in terms of fulfilling that love. I'm not doing this for an audience. I'm not doing this to gain a cult or a following. I'm not saying others are either. Don't jump the gun. But I'm just having conversation, and my expectation for the people listening is you either, it's if you keep listening, you're getting something out of it to spend your time on, and if you don't, then don't. I don't. I just want everybody should be happy doing what they're going to do. And so I don't, this channel is not my, tilting at windmills moment. It's not my, cause that I'm trying to generate. I am doing other things, whether it's, helping pay some rent for some shops that need it, or, raise some money over here, or start a publishing arm, or all of the above. Actually, not all, and all of the above. That is, that's where the hard work is. This channel is entertainment, and I don't mean to diminish it that way, but it is what it is. Lots of people have suggested to me little tips that it's like, if you do this, you could triple your subscriber growth. I'm like, yeah, but then I'd be sinking in like 3 times as much time into producing the videos. And I understand it'd be good for some of the viewers, but then I'd be taking that time away from, starting a publishing business. And that would be more important right now. So anyway, I just throw that out there. I know some channels they are on a sacred mission to change the world. This channel is on a sacred mission to entertain me and maybe you. That's about it. So let's continue. It says a large percentage of your content is focused on the comic divisions of Disney and Discovery. This made sense to a point. Warner had owned DC since the 60s and always had a relatively good steward who let the publisher have a lot of autonomy, which allowed room for ambitious and engaged employees. Maybe. I mean, I don't know. It's being pretty generous. I just want to say. I'm not sure that's completely the case. Anyway. AT&T and now Discovery both have not been in a financial position since acquiring Warner to allow that kind of autonomy, and because of reorganizations and layoffs over the past 2 years, not only has DC's institutional knowledge been obliterated, but likely so has morale and any incentive to be the nail that sticks up. Disney, I think we both know enough people who work there to know what it's like working for Mauschwitz. God, Disney. Yeah. Marvel has been on a slow decline from the moment Disney bought them. There's nothing to suggest this will be changing soon. Yeah, for what it's worth, I think morale seems low at DC. Absolutely. The people I talk to are generally seem numb, I think is probably the best word. There's been so many changes. I think there's certain numbness to everything now. I think there's hope springs eternal that things will improve. But there was a brief flicker when COVID hit and DC started to take some control into their hands, and they made the distributor change away from Diamond and everything. There's a brief sense of we're going to be Mavericks, so we're going to go for it again, and then that got quickly extinguished in the summer and the fall, and it feels like there's a lot of just waiting for hope, and it is grim. Marvel is, I would say, similar, and like you said a little bit, it's been that way for a while. Now, the one thing that is always hard for all of us to swallow is that, by the books and by the numbers, it has not been a slow decline for Marvel at Disney. Even if you can look at graphs and you could look at chart, you could go through the numbers, but it's been more of a bumpy up and down. Um, I think I don't think well, I don't think Disney has been healthy for Marvel, but I also think if Disney had not bought Marvel, it'd be questionable if Marvel would exist today. Just putting that out there. I think that Marvel was perhaps in a worse state in many ways than people realize, and I think that now you could say, well, it should have just died. You could take the Kylo Ren approach, but anyway, it's complicated, I guess is the point to put it. But in terms of morale, yeah, I mean, here's the thing that. And I apologize if I'm going off track, but you write a very compelling mail, so I'm trying to give you a thoughtful answer. Um, you know, One really difficult thing that we have in our life right now, and we're seeing this coming out of COVID, and as people are trying to go back to work and everything else, is in many companies the spark is gone, so to speak. There's a struggle. A kind of a dismal, gloomy feel, and part of it is with countries heading into a recession. I think there's the intense political extremist friction that's happened between camps has taken a toll on people's mental state. And there's an exhaustion that's set in. And you see this very much in comics. In some cases, money is still being made, but it feels like, it's why you listen to that Mark Miller interview or the Dan Panosian interview, the recent ones, and you do come away with that going, wow, these guys like comics. That's quaint. It's nice. They seem excited. And I think, there's been more eras in the past where that was pervasive, where everybody had that feel, and that's more rare now, and that's sad. Can we get that back? But maybe not. Maybe not. So, but you go into some other places. It says you spend a lot of time dissecting issues within these two companies specifically, and you spend a lot of time navel gazing with nostalgia, with the Marvel and DC character-centric discussions, all about stuff that ultimately doesn't matter because editorial has no interest in maintaining canon anymore. Okay, that's not entirely fair. I mean, again, this is meant to be entertainment. I'm talking about things I've read and I've known. So yeah, that's what's happening. I don't know. It's navel gazing, and quite frankly, the people I talk to most work in Marvel and DC. It's where a lot of these topics, and more or less, I'm answering questions people asking about those two companies. I've said before, and I agree, and you're about to get into it. Why don't you support more indies? It's harder. Quite frankly, that's the answer. It's certainly harder to do that when there's less material to go over. I'm not saying this is an excuse. That's my reason. I should. You're right. I've said before, I wish I did, and I should. I'd like to. Hopefully can. But it also needs to be fun along the process, just for what it's worth. All right, I'm going to power through the rest of this mail without interrupting. So if you care about growth in the future of the industry, why does so much of your content wallow in nostalgia? How does keeping the focus on IP owned by two disinterested multinational corporations help the medium grow exactly? I think this is where the LCS owner blind spot may come into play. You seem to think that these hardcore enthusiast stores that came into existence nearly 40 years after comic books themselves are critical to the continued success and the survival of the medium. Okay, as I mentioned, that you're not listening if that's your takeaway. Just bluntly, you're just completely wrong about that. It's fine. It's fine. But I've said the exact opposite many, 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 many times. So for what it's worth. But okay, back to the mail. But the opposite is true. LCS, or the albatross around the neck of comics, have slowly choked the industry to death over the past 30 years. Don't get me wrong, I love comic shops, but comics need them as much as they need record stores and VHS needs Suncoast Video. I miss Suncoast Video. Do you care about comics, or do you care about comic stores? Okay, the mail has wandered into a different area. I care about comics. Okay, I mean, all I can say is the proof is in what I've said. I think you've gone to the comic store as a key reason. I think you're missing something else. That is my blind spot. And I agree. I'll own it, but it's not the comic shop. It says you also rant, and I fully agree, about needing to get creators who love and respect more work and attention. But do you use your platform that way? Yeah, I think so. Where's your video promoting any of Steve Rude's Kickstarters? When did you promote any of Steve Ditko's Kickstarters? Let's see, one with Rude. I don't think I promoted Steve Ditko's Kickstarter, that's true, but I promoted many others. You talk about supporting creators, but instead using your platform to promote those artists, you answer questions about how your favorite color of kryptonite, or tell us how bad a particularly new issue of X-Men is. Yeah, I talk about what I want. That's why I started the mail with that Doom question. Yeah, it's fun. My nostalgia for the comic shop is being able to connect with customers, something I can do anywhere. It's not about just the comic shop, but I do enjoy that aspect of things. And yeah, I do enjoy talking and debating about what color of kryptonite is doing what. That's fun. And if I'm not having fun, why would I do this in the first place? The mail's ending up. When was the last time you discussed Merck Publishing? I haven't. Magnetic Press, haven't. Antarctic Press, yes, I have a few times. When you highlight any of the amazing self-published crowdfunded comics, several times, but I'll be blunt about this. One thing I won't do is I get people who write me going, hey, you asshole, promote my comic or you're a pussy. And guess what? I'm not promoting that comic. I'm not going to have somebody cry and dare / scream me into submission to promote their book. That's an ass way to do it, and people are being an ass. And there's a decent amount of people who take that approach. And those guys are dicks. Full stop dicks. It's always the same people. It's rare to ever. Yeah, it's more rare than it should be. I'll agree. To watch your channel alone, one gets the perspective. Comics nearly begin and end with Marvel and DC. You spend much time focus on them. Seriously, do you think this is what will help comics grow? I don't. Okay. So that's a mail. Like I said, I appreciate criticism. Again, the only part that I'll say, hard disagree on is, again, I've been one of the louder voices, particularly one of the loudest voices who has, owned a shop, who is talking about the flaws in the business model of shops. And so, I'll push back on that. The rest, it's fair. Look, I do think I could do a lot more to promote indie comics and crowdfunded comics. I absolutely do. And I think that I'm open to more ideas. A lot of people write with promoting their books. I try and get to some of them, but like the email itself, I'm getting to, not even a fraction. I will answer, 2-3 mails a day. I'll get 40. That's the current pace. I guess nice problem to have, but I do feel bad that I'm not answering more. I think that look, loving comics takes a lot of forms, and there's always more you can do. But the one thing I would say is, and this is true for anything, you got to make sure you're having fun yourself. And if having fun sometimes means being silly and doing silly things. And if you don't do that, then you're going to have a very hard time accomplishing your goal. I would say this channel isn't the primary, my primary goal is not to kind of help comics, it's to entertain. Maybe there's a crossover between the two. The way I try and help comics is that I take the ad revenue here and I help comic shops, or I take money out of my pocket, in some cases quite a lot of money out of my pocket, and I pay people and I get things done. Not for commissions, but I'll pay for a book to get done, or I'll hire or buy a script off a writer, or so on. I try to do as much of that as I can. If I had more time in the day, I think the publishing venture that I'm embarking on would make a lot more progress, and you would see it. We'll get there, but more importantly, just try and have fun. I do appreciate you taking the time to write out the long mail, critical or not critical. I appreciate it. You took time out of your day to do that, and I thank you for that. Otherwise, have fun. Look, life is short. and there's a lot of things to do in comics. This one, you know, this we do what we can. Um, but again, thank you for the mail. Any suggestions, opinions, would love to see it in the comments. And absolutely, the Latvernians are happier under Doom. Thanks for listening.